The highlights of it is that as opposed to just 4 members that the governor will, public members that the governor will appoint, that will double to 8. But the requirement of those individuals is going to be that they have to be regular commuters at some period of years in the last 7. At least 3 out of 7, I think, is the way that we define that. The other component is that there has to be some level beyond commuting of transportation experience if they're not regular commuters. So we're talking about a board that isn't just connected and being sitting in some prestigious seat, but they're going to know what the heck they're doing and have a stake in it. It also refines their role relative to what it is that they're supposed to be doing, whether it has to do with ethics or personnel policies and whistleblowing, which is something very important that we found was really, frowned upon isn't the right word, but under the thumb of administration. Anybody that had anything negative to say that was an employee there, you can't imagine, and it's going to happen to all of you now, how nervous they were to talk to us and had to be anonymous, and we'll tell you this, and here's what's going on, but please be careful, they'll fire me. That's got to stop. And similar with the financial components of the responsibilities of the board. Another thing that we saw happen with the board is they weren't meeting. There were months at a time when there was no public meetings, no transparency, nowhere for people to air what they were feeling. So this bill will require that there's at least 10 public hearings a year, and also will couple that with mandatory attendance to a degree of the board members that are going to take on that responsibility. If there's to be a fair increase, which again I'd be very much against in light of it having already come out of the pockets of the commuters, there has to be at least 10 separate meetings in all different regions of the state that would be affected by them in particular in order for that process to be transparent and for it to be vetted. If there's going to be an elimination of a route, which happens, and you can imagine the havoc that wreaks on someone's life, there's going to have to be at least 2 public meetings in the area where that service is to be disrupted so it can be talked through and understood. There's to be an employee relations committee. There's to be a passenger advisory committee. There's to be independent audits. The state auditor, at least every 6 years or sooner if the board decides, will have to do an independent audit or a state audit, and an independent auditor also within a 5-year period of time. We have to be, before the tragedy in Hoboken got everybody thinking about this, there has to be professional audits that are in place in incremental times to let us know what we're faced with so we don't let this happen again. Budget reports to the state legislature. They really, frankly, pulled the wool over our eyes. They came to the budget hearing. Benji, I see several members that sit there and everything is fine and didn't ever get into the depth, even in questioning as it related to what really was happening and going on. So that's got to be changed for the future, as well as long-term fiscal year projections. It was great at our last hearing to hear about an $80 million deficit in the fiscal 19. We should know and should be able to plan for that years in advance. A chief ethics officer, to say the least, will be given, be a repository for people to come to that work there to be able to be protected and to be able to talk about things that are ongoing to make it a better agency.